Hello, hello, everyone. I am so excited today. I have with me Maria Grasso. Am I pronouncing that right, Maria?
You got it.
Woohoo! All
And that's
right,
the first one.
today is going to be amazing. Career strategy session. Maria is new to the Atlanta area. She's going to tell you all about her exciting life. She is the director of Eagle University. She's going to give us more details about that, but she is a phenomenal being. We met over coffee last month after connecting through the Labo League Atlanta Facebook group, and I have been so energized since I met her. The energy during our first coffee was amazing. So you are in for a treat today. Just a few reminders. If you want to ask questions during today's session, you can pop your questions into the Q&A box here on Google Hangout, or you can tweet your questions to us. And I know many of you prefer direct mail on Twitter. I mean direct message, not direct mail. You can go ahead and DM me if you have any questions, and I'll make sure that I ask your questions to Maria. So Maria, I've given just a snippet of your bio. Can you fill in the gaps and tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, I can, Jackie. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I likewise had an awesome meetup with you, and the energy also left me very motivated for my day, my month, my week, everything. I love meeting somebody whose energy resonates, so it's awesome to meet you. But getting into my bio a little bit, so my background really, Jackie's a nonprofit and young people. So that's kind of like the two common things in what I've done. So when I was younger in college, I thought, I wanted to be a high-profile lawyer, and I wanted to, major in political science and really kind of take on this big world. Maybe I would interweave broadcast journalism in the political field and all this stuff. And so I started on the side doing projects with young people and nonprofits, and really found that instead of a hobby, that was kind of my sweet spot. I wanted to be doing that. I loved doing that. I was energized by doing that, and I was drained by the other stuff. It wasn't fun for me. So as a young person, it's hard to kind of realize, oh yeah, okay, this is what everybody wants from me over here on one side, but here's where I really feel energized. And to kind of make the move to something that's a little bit less, what's that word I'm looking for? It wasn't the norm for what people thought I would do. And then go and do that. I started getting all these internships that were really high level in the nonprofit world on a global scale. Things just started really rocking and rolling for me. And then my senior year of college, I decided to do Teach for America, and I got placed in Houston, Texas. And I think it was one of the best moves in my life, because Houston allowed me to kind of expand even more in the nonprofit field. I started working for an inner city high school called Cristo Rey Jesuit College Prep Houston. It's a phenomenal school. It's part of a network of national schools where students actually go and work one day a week in the corporate world, and that pays their tuition, and they get a college prep ed. I was working more on the nonprofit organizational side. Started a mentoring program there, and really helped rock and roll everything over in the early stages of that school. So that led me actually to Eagle U. So I kind of got picked up, at Eagle U. As I'll tell you throughout my journey, every major career jump was something that I didn't have to apply for. Like you and I talk about all the time. People found me for it. And so when Eagle U needed a new executive director, they reached out to me to come and do that. And I'm actually an alum of the program. I went 13 years ago for the first time, and my whole family is a product of the program. So for me, it was a natural transition to be able to help young people see the vision for their life, go after that vision, and not really live in the box of going after what people want for them, more what they want for themselves, what they're good at. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in a nutshell.
I absolutely love your story. And yes, you brought up something really important. I tell people all the time, the last couple of job offers that I received, I didn't apply to. When you network, not passing out business cards, but actually building relationships, those opportunities come to you that way. So you mentioned a little bit about your career journey. I want to ask you a question. What does navigating the career jungle mean to you?
I think you just touched on it a little bit, Jackie. So for me, navigating the career jungle is about kind of finding yourself around the right people and building mentor relationships and really putting yourself out there before you actually need the job, right? So you're out there building, going out there and finding successful people that are doing things you're interested in, taking them to coffee, asking them questions, figuring out what they're doing, even if you don't think it makes sense for you, like that might not be a job you want, that person has knowledge that can apply somehow to your life. So you're taking all the successful people out there in the world and you're just like biting off parts of their success, using it for your own experience, and you're actually navigating the jungle in that way, right? Because you have all their skills and you have their experiences and you're kind of going through and doing it that way. We teach young people to do that at Equal You all the time, and I'll tell you the stories I get back are awesome because we help them figure out how to get in touch with successful mentors, how to talk to them once you do. You don't need to ask them for an internship. You don't need to ask them for a job. Just pick their brain. And then one day, somebody will come back and say, remember that kid that I took to coffee or I had coffee with? I really think they'd be good for this job. I wonder what they're doing now. I'm going to reach out to them. And that's kind of how things start to unfold, and you start to navigate that jungle, and you start to have allies, and you start to have people that push for you, as you know so well. So
that's awesome. So just to piggyback on that question, on that answer, tell us more about Eagle U.
Yeah, okay. So Eagle U, it's my baby, my love. It's everything that I do as an adult, but I was taught as a young person. So Eagle U is for high school through college age students, and it's 1 week overnight held at a college campus. And what we do is we really bring in the top speakers in the country and their keynotes for the mornings of our program. And so it's conference style, but really the keynotes aren't the curriculum. So our curriculum is the rest of the day. And it's stuff we've been teaching for 25 plus years, all based on some of the best minds, Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, all the success leaders out there, even the new success leaders now who built themselves upon those older ones too. So we teach everything from goal setting, how to manage your time properly, networking, how to get mentors, how to access those mentors, what to ask those mentors, how to get a job without a resume, how to really build your connections and go forth in that way so that you're more successful, you have a competitive advantage over your peers, and you're really going after what you want. And so when you do that, you'll be more successful. And so we put students in these small mastermind groups of like 10 students their own age so that they're learning the mastermind concept too throughout the week. So it's really like this awesome environment of just success mindset for a week overnight with people their own age from high school through college. Students from all over the country come together and do this, and then they leave on fire, wanting more mentors, wanting to connect with more successful people, wanting to build friendships that have like a similar success mindset, and that lasts throughout your rest of your life with you. So it's one of those things for me that I went to as a young person multiple times, and then I used that stuff day in and day out, positive affirmations, goal setting, writing down my goals, reviewing them daily, talking to mentors, weekly, building new mentor relationships, never using a resume to get a job. And so when I went to run it, it was just a natural transition for me because that's the stuff that got me where I am. So I love being able to give that back to students, but the program is phenomenal. So it's been going on for 25 years. We do different college campuses each summer at the University of Louisville this summer and at Rice University in Houston as well this summer. So it's a fantastic program, but really helps students get to that next level, whether they're, kind of like a middle student who has like a mediocre GPA but really wants more, or they're a high-level student with a high-level GPA already going after more. It's going to help them move to that next level kind of wherever they're at.
I absolutely love that. Can you tell us how people can get involved if they like to volunteer?
Yeah. Awesome question. Thank you for that. So if anybody's interested, I would just have them email me directly. I run the show over there right now, so I think the best way to do that, if you're interested in maybe sending a brother or a sister or anybody or if you want to find out more about how to be a mentor at our program, you can email me at maria@eagleuniversity.org.
Awesome. So what did you want to be when you were a little girl?
I wanted to be a writer. That was my first thing. I wanted to be an author. Writing for me was always an outlet. It was always something fun to do. I kept journals upon journals of creative journals. So naturally when Harriet the Spy came out when we were younger, I was all over that. I loved observing and writing things and making up stories and writing poetry, all this stuff. And so for me, I think what that led to in my life now is all about that human element, right? It's all about observing people and relationships and kind of using language to really help us feel good, to help us see a vision for ourselves and our future. And so as a young person, I really wanted to express that. And so my way to do that was through words. And so not out of the question to continue to do that, I think, in this day and age. I think building, especially upon my experience with young people, that's definitely something I'll look to in the future, is to kind of get that all on paper as well. But always continue to write in my life every day in some way, too. Oh, I think I lost your volume. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
There we go. I muted myself because I have a little echo going on today. But in that same vein of you're always writing and you're always learning, what was your very first job and how did that prepare you for the job that you have now?
Oh, yeah. So I did a variety. So first job, I had a variety of odd jobs. I'm not sure what I told you was my first one. I had kind of a bunch at once. So I worked at an ice cream shop, scooping ice cream for Oberweis, while I also sold Crocs at the mall at a kiosk. So I really kind of did both of those things. For me, it was fun to see, oh, I have a goal. I want to go do something, or I want to buy something. I want to go on this trip. I need to get the funds to do it. I want to have the extra money to like buy the books I wanted to buy and to go on the trips I wanted to go on as a young person. So I was like, how do I do that? Oh, I work. Okay, so that's part of my goal, right? Part of the step in the goal was doing that stuff. And then obviously just working with people was fun for me. So I'm the kind of kid that had jobs even through school, even when I didn't necessarily need a lot of the money. At the time, I wanted to work because I just like being around people in a different environment. And so it was always fun for me. I waited tables in college. I worked at a concession stand. I worked at a restaurant. I was all sorts of different odd jobs throughout my high school through college experience. But I think it's what makes kind of your people skills grow. And that was what it did for me, I think, and helped me really figure out people and how much I love them and being around them.
So I can't wait to ask this question. We were talking before we went live about a book that you recommended to me, Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. Yeah. So I know that you also read Lewis Howes' School of Greatness recently. How often do you read? And tell us about the books that you've been reading.
Yes, awesome. I love talking about reading, first of all. So people always ask me, how do you make time to read all this stuff? Let's just be honest up front. Not all of them I physically read. I love audible.com. It is a joy. I can work out and read and listen to books and people's knowledge and do all sorts of stuff. So I'd say daily I'm reading something, whether it's Audible or physically reading a book. I'm also a big Bible reader, so that's physically read every morning before anything gets started. But I also do self-growth reading, so that has to happen at some point in the day, whether it's headphones on Audible or reading a couple chapters in one of the books I'm working with at that moment. So I really like to take the time to go through books too, even after I listen to them, to go through and highlight and underline and just kind of live in the word of whatever that is and see it visibly on paper and kind of absorb it in that way too. So one of my favorites, timeless favorites, and when people ask me, what are you currently reading? Well, I'm always reading it because I read it once a month. Or listen to it once a month, is Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, like you said. The best book, I feel, in my opinion. It is the foundation of growth. It also shows us how whatever we believe is the dark side, other side, is pulling on us in the other way, and the battles we're facing as far as self-growth goes. So whether you're religious or not, this book is a self-growth book through and through. It's not necessarily a religious book, but it takes the foundation of everything and breaks it down and shows you how in every element of your life you're facing a battle, and are you going to choose to grow through, choose the growth, or are you going to kind of choose the fear? And so the other side works in fear, and this book really helps you figure that out. They address something called drifting, which is such a cool concept, about how a lot of people just go through life without any resistance, and they feel like they're succeeding and achieving things. But you want to be careful when you don't face resistance, because that means you're falling into this path where you're never going to grow and change, and something's keeping you from growing and changing. So this book kind of shows you how you need to grow and change, and that plays into success, and adversity is your friend, all that stuff. It's written as a conversation, which is so cool. But also it was hidden since 1938, I think. It was hidden. It wasn't released until 70 years after it was written. Napoleon Hill's wife thought it was so controversial. And she worked for a religious college, I believe, at the time, that she did not want it released. She didn't want her family shunned. So this book actually kind of came out of Napoleon Hill's foundation, I feel like in 2011, 8, something like that. Don't quote me on the number, but very recently. And so it's a cool book to read and see how a lot of what's happening in the world now, he actually kind of predicts that too. So very cool.
So tell us about the School of Greatness as well. And I can't wait to finish Outwitting the Devil, but I'm also looking forward to reading Lewis's book.
Yes. Well, I'm a big Lewis Howes fan in general. I feel like he does I hope this is not offensive, but he does a great job of just like finding people that have great knowledge, and then he just facilitates. And it's the coolest thing, because a lot of people are like, well, what's his expertise and all this stuff, and it's like, no, he is giving us valuable content because he's going out there and like facilitating greatness and finding it and going through it, and he's learning from it, and he's showing us this vulnerable process in front of the world, on video, on podcasts, however you want to, watch his stuff, read his stuff. So the book is really just kind of a formulation of all these different exercises he puts together and these principles of greatness that he's found from interviewing all these people. And so if you followed his stuff a lot, you'll kind of see some of them that you've heard before, obviously. But if you haven't, it's a phenomenal way. He opens it up with some goal setting and growth exercises and how to figure out your passion and vision and who you are, and setting a vision statement for your life, which I think is just a critical thing to do in general. And so I think all of those things building up. So Lewis Howes' book is really, really actionable. There's lots of stuff you can do within it that helps you really uncover what it is you feel is great about you, what you can do, and what you want to do with that life. And so he's phenomenal. I couldn't recommend that book any more, and just his podcasts in general, as you know, are eye-opening. We were just talking about the Alanis Morissette one that he did, not expecting that to be great, but it was, obviously. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was an awesome podcast episode. Someone just sent a question in, and this question is from Brian. He says, you mentioned working with your students and telling them how to connect with mentors. Can you explain the best ways to connect with the mentor and how to maximize that relationship?
Sure. So off the bat, I don't think that there's a best way necessarily, but it's all about knowing the mentor and knowing the relationship, and then finding someone to connect you. That's really the key. So the key in all of this is kind of really looking at who you know in different areas. That's why LinkedIn is so cool. That's why going to events is so cool and meeting people that know people, because you have to kind of have somebody do that preheat for you. We call it preheating. You want somebody or something to preheat for you. Hey, I know this young person. They're really interested in this. They'd love to just talk to you about what you do. Would you have a chance to meet up with them? So kind of like, a lot of people work, if it's this high-level CEO, finding a way to get to know the secretary, finding a way to get to know his, assistant, finding a way to get to know somebody who has leverage over their calendar and what they do. And my fiance, Matt, has a funny story about that with Steve Wynn, who obviously we all know as one of the wealthiest men in the country. He runs the casinos over in Las Vegas. And Matt would call and get to know his secretary when he was in college all the time. And he would send her things, and he put together this thing we call a brag book, which is what we teach our students at Eagle U to do. I don't want to give away too much on that, but it's a different tool. He would send them over to the office over there. Pretty soon they created an internship for him that they'd never had before, and he actually got to meet Steve Wynn personally and spend a day with him during his internship. So it's like cool stuff like that where you have to really kind of preheat yourself to somebody else who knows that person. So it's all about that middle person connecting you, because they're more likely to answer the email or the call from the person in the middle who they kind of know or have a connection to than you just coming in cold. So you really have to work on that preheat. That preheat is major.
Love that concept of preheat. That's the first time I've heard that term, and I'm really connecting with it. Yeah. So thank you, Brian, for asking that question. So, Maria, let's talk about the mentors in your life. How have you connected with your mentors?
Yeah, so my mentors, I am a people keeper, if you will. So when you're young, I feel like you have all this power that you don't know you have. When you're in high school and college, and you're very sweet, and you're very innocent, and you just want the most out of life, and you have bright eyes. Because people want to help young people so much. They want to share their knowledge. They want to, get to know you. They're not intimidated by you. They think it's cute that you want to find out more about their life. When you hit this mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s, it's not as easy to kind of leverage that. So I took advantage of that as a young person. So my mentors today are people that I cultivated relationships with when I was younger, and I've kept them in my life. Obviously, I have new mentors that have come in through connections and that kind of stuff, but always being the youngest person in a room and always being, I hate to say this, not being the smartest person in the room. So that's helped me get mentors. So when people know, like for example, my fiance and I go to a lot of networking events for entrepreneurs because he's an entrepreneur, and in this big group called Entrepreneurs Org, and we're the youngest people there, the youngest couple. People want to talk to us. They want to know what we're doing. They want to help us figure out things. And so really surrounding yourself all the time with people that are more successful than you and older than you that know more people helps you kind of build those relationships. So for me, that's how I built a lot of the mentor relationships now in my life. But back in the day, I really just asked my parents who their friends were that were working in different industries I was interested in. And then once I had those people, I started asking those people for more connections. And then pretty soon, every now and then, I'd find a lifelong mentor in one of those and somebody I'd keep up with my whole life. And so that's kind of where I've gotten my mentors and how I've kept in touch with them. And it's usually like you don't want to ever overwhelm a mentor. If they give you their time and their advice, I'd say every once a month or once a quarter, depending on who the mentor is, I really connect with them and update them in my life, where I'm at, what I need, see if I can help them in any way, and that kind of mutual relationship. But I think the idea is always following up with a thank you, handwritten note, obviously. Always, updating them on what you're doing, because they're not going to reach out to you. They're busy. They're successful, and they've got things going on. So you need to make sure that if you've built that relationship with them and they are interested in you, and they do want to keep up with you and help you, that you update them, once a month or once a quarter on what you're doing, and stay in front of your mentors. Always let them know what you're up to, because they're going to run into people that they think will be good for you to know, and then they'll pass you on and all that kind of stuff too. Did I answer your question? So key.
You and I talked about this before, the power of just asking for help. You would be surprised at how many people are willing to offer their assistance. So let's shift gears a little bit, Maria, and talk about a career challenge that you experienced. Take us right to that moment and walk us through how you overcame that challenge.
Okay, so I mentioned Teach for America, and I'm not sure if this is the one we talked about earlier, Jackie, but I joined Teach for America. It's really hard to get into, especially the year I did it, 2010, was my core year. They had all the applicants from Yale and Harvard got turned down, and I was like on cloud nine thinking like, why'd they choose me? I'm so pumped. Like, I'm going to get to know all these amazing people, and it was amazing, and I did it for a year. School I was working at switched principals like 3 times. It was a really rough school. Teachers were getting fired. There were some weird lawsuits going on against like some other teacher, and things were really, really bad. There was a really negative environment, but I wanted to help kids, so I felt guilty. I was like, you know what? I feel guilty trying to like get a new location because these kids really need a good teacher, but this is a really toxic environment in the sense of like nobody can get anything done. The administration has just made it so that it's just not happening here. So I want to stay in this lower income situation to help students really get this better education, but I didn't know what to do because it had been such an exclusive thing I got into, and if I left my school for a new placement, I'd be out of Teach for America. I wouldn't be part of the organization anymore, and I love what they do and think the world of it. So I talked to a lot of my mentors in the program, and I talked to mentors out of the program, and we all came to the conclusion that there are so many other opportunities in the city to do big things under leadership that is growth mindset that can really help you achieve more. So I actually went to a school called Cristo Rey Jesuit College Prep School of Houston, which I told you about is one of the best schools, in my opinion, in the country. What Cristo Rey schools do in general is just amazing. And so I got a chance to work kind of on the ground level there while it was still a really small school. And then over time, we grew it from like 20 employees to over 80. I was on leadership over in the HR field over there, so really helping bring on that huge staff. I started a mentoring program that ended up being copied at other schools across the country. Got a chance to really grow myself and grow the students and grow the community simultaneously. But that obstacle of like leaving something that felt elite, and that I worked really hard for, to go do more of what I felt like was my job to do, and to really work in the community and get less I got plenty of praise, but to have less of that elite feeling, oh, I'm part of Teach for America and part of one of the hardest things to get into in the country and all this kind of stuff, and just say, you know what, that's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why I'm doing what I'm doing is to work with the students I'm working with. So you have to really, for me, it was about refocusing on what is my mission here? What is my purpose here? And staying hyper-focused on that purpose and knowing that being, part of an elite organization isn't part of my purpose or my mission. Doing work with the students I do work with is my purpose, right? Helping leverage and advance people, into their futures and advance them into the purpose of their own life and help them get what they want. That's my purpose here, is helping other people get what they want out of life. So how can I do that better? And I had to decide to leave Teach for America after 1 year and then go do something very similar but without that elite label so that I could grow students more and grow myself more. It just wasn't happening in the other place. And for me, that was the biggest challenge, because I think we all have a little bit of ego behind us. We all want to feel, elite. We all want to be part of something that's big and that's powerful and, all that as well. But at the end of the day, if it's not serving who we are and it's not serving our purpose, we have to kind of cut out too.
So Shira says, thank you for being so transparent and honest. I think a lot of us struggle with that ego part. So can you tell me, how did you find your passion? Because a lot of people have a hard time connecting and identifying their passions.
Sure. And this kind of leads me into something. So my fiance and I are he actually went to Eagle U when he was younger too. We met a year ago. Crazy, weird connections like that. We're not from the same place. We don't know a lot of the same people. But so what we both are hyper-focused on is purpose. And doing all these, reading all these books, figuring out all this research, and looking at what people are doing to discover your purpose. And so I kind of knew mine early on, but we've tried to kind of help figure out how we can help other people identify that. So we've put together a whole life planner and all these exercises that kind of lead to that we're working on now. So I can, whenever that ends up kind of coming to fruition, I'll send you guys all that information. But the idea behind it is to really figure out what brings you joy, thinking back on your childhood, thinking back on things you do naturally without having to work at them, thinking about things that you do have to work on but that bring you this ultimate sense of satisfaction and joy, and really spending time uncovering those things, and then leaving yourself up to the end of your life. And when you leave this world, what do you want people to say about you? What are those things you want them to say? And then how do you connect those with the things that make you most joyful? So you want to leave a legacy, but you want to do things that really, really bring you purpose and passion and excitement and joy and love and all those things. So how do you mesh those two? So for us, we're creating an exercise right now that's about that. But I'd say in the short of it all is to really think about those two different elements in your life and then look towards things that bring you more of both of those. How can I create more every day of the legacy I want to leave? And then how do I do more things that bring me that joy that I just naturally get from doing whatever that is? And there's got to be something sweet in the middle, right? There's something that connects all that. And I'm telling you, it's there. It's hard to find. You might spend 2 weeks, journaling about it and agonizing over it and trying to figure it out. Matt and I always talk about summing it up in one sentence eventually, and that's what our whole exercise we're coming up with is about, is figuring out a way to sum up your vision in one sentence. Or to get it down to one word if you're really creative and can do that. But yeah, and it's having that focus at the beginning of everything you do and just really using that to make decisions. We feel like if you have your purpose figured out, decision making is easy. It's okay, decision is here. What's my purpose? Which one of these decisions serves that best? Bam, next thing. And it just makes life a lot more seamless. Not that you're not going to have resistance, but you just will feel more confident in the direction you go, I think.
Yeah, and Tracy just said a life planner would be helpful. So I know you're putting together some resources. So Tracy's tweeting you, so you have her contact info too to share those resources with her.
Yeah, Tracy,
so
I will tweet back at you and we'll get you that information, okay? Cool. I love it.
So we're right at the time where we're about to wrap up. Yeah. Can you share with us one piece of parting wisdom and the best way to connect with you?
Yes. Okay, so my favorite thing to talk about is I touched on it a little bit, is adversity. And so my big parting wisdom is I used to think that if I faced adversity, I was going in the wrong direction, but that's not the case. So sometimes when you face adversity, look at it, live in it, and just know that without that, you can't change your thought and your thinking and your path. And if you can't change your thought, thinking, and path, you're not going anywhere. You're not growing, right? You're just on the same old dead wave. So my whole idea would be that every time you face adversity or you're in a trial, to really consider what it is you're learning and growing and move in that direction confidently, knowing that it's difficult, but it's going to produce more of what it is you want. And like I said, when you have your purpose behind all that, once you figure that out, it'll be easier to push in that direction. So really focus on defining your purpose and then using adversity to launch you into the future. Those are my two favorite things to really focus on the most.
And how can we connect with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me. I will give you guys my email, actually. It's maria@eagleuniversity.org. That's the #1 way. I'm an email junkie. Love it. But you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at Ria, R-I-A, Rambles, R-A-M-B-L-E-S. It is a childhood nickname, and I feel very passionate about staying authentic to myself. So that is something that a lot of people, I think, always laugh, like, shouldn't you get a more professional Twitter and Instagram? And I said, I should, but it kind of resonates more with who I am. But also you can find Eagle U on Instagram at Eagle University, and then you can find Eagle U on Twitter at I am Eagle U, the letter U. So all of those methods are all ways you can connect with me or Eagle U.
Well, thank you so much, Maria, for being here with us today, and thank you all for joining us for this very special career strategy session. I'm sure you felt the amazing energy that I experienced the first time I met Maria in person. And please connect with her and follow her and Eagle U. Again, if you're interested in volunteering, she's given us her email address. She is an email junkie, so definitely reach out. All right, y'all, until the next career strategy session, I want you to emulate excellence and emulate excuses.
Love it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jackie. Take care.